Hello students and dear friends, we are going to start this new video on the defense budget. In this video, we are going to discuss the aspects regarding the upcoming expectations from the India's defense sector, the defense procurement and the overall development regarding the international scenario. So this defense budget of India was very important in certain contexts. And what are these contexts? This year, so many countries, right from Japan to Taiwan to Sweden to Norway to so many others, including Germany, had to increase their budgets given the imminent threats in their neighborhood, which is largely because of Russia in Europe and because of China in Asia and Pacific. Now, China is also trying to get even with India on the Doklam issue, and we have seen a lot of skirmishes, we have seen a lot of boundary issues, or let us say boundary disputes, particularly in terms of violation of international boundary or violation of the line of actual control in recent time. Given this budget had to provide in order to control these kind of threats. In addition, of late we have seen India's exports from the defense sector have been doing pretty well, and there has been a lot of demand regarding our Tejas, BrahMos, and many other additional defense equipments. So regarding that also we were expecting that something would happen. And there were so many other exciting areas. So we expect India to become a regional power and then world power, I mean to say. And similarly, our defense budget should also reflect that. So it is in this context that we will discuss the budget. So the budget has already been discussed, and my friends, those who follow this channel regularly, although there is not much yet, have seen the video on the budget. In case you have not seen it yet, kindly see it now. It is in Hindi. Very soon, I will be uploading it in English as well. Now, this defense budget was almost $72 billion, which is quite significant and almost 13%, little more than 13% of our overall budget, which was about $55 billion. Sorry, $550 billion. Now, given this size of budget, we were expecting that there would be a lot of satisfaction with the armed forces and the veterans who analyze the defense matters. But as we see, the reaction from the veterans is so-so. So-so means they're happy on some aspects, but they're not happy on some of the other aspects. We are going to discuss both of these aspects, where the veterans or the experts are happy and where those veterans or experts are not happy. First of all, if we look at the total budget, it is about 5.94 lakh crore rupees. 5.94 lakh crore rupees. Out of this, for defense capital expenditure, this year we have allocated 1.62 lakh crore. Last year, this figure was 1.5 lakh crore. So there is a small increase in this number here, and an increase of about 8%. Similarly, in the revenue expenditure, the allocation is about 2.71 lakh crore rupees. For pensions, there is 1.38 lakh crore rupees, and for defense, there is civil defense, there is 0.22 lakh crore rupees, which is 22,000 crore roughly. Now, all these figures and documents is documented, and the document is available for you to download and study in detail. And that would be available in the first comment on the video. Kindly check it out. Now, the challenge at present is that world is no longer the safe place. Although it was never a safe place, but of late we have seen the rise of very traditional style of war. Of late, experts were saying that the modern wars in 21st century will be smart wars. There will be small wars, there will be quick wars with less casualties and less attrition. And it will not drag for very long. But Russia and Ukraine war has taught us that attrition based, entrenchment based war is still possible, just like the World War One. So this conflict is already going on for a very long time. And At present, we do not see its end coming very soon. So, traditional style of warfare is possible. And in traditional style of warfare, you really lose material at a very fast pace. You run out of tanks, you run out of defense equipments, you run out of ammunition. So we need to keep a big stockpile of all these kind of equipments and ammunition and other requirements. So that is one thing that this war has taught us. In addition, we need to understand that we need to spend more regarding increasing the presence in Indian Ocean, because China is challenging us regarding that also. So first of all, world is not a safe place as I'm talking about, and particularly the recent Russia-Ukraine war has changed the rules of the warfare that we were expecting in the 21st century. So that is also a very big reason why we are expecting a different kind of warfare in future, or at least not as per our expectation as we had little earlier. Now, that is the first point that I've discussed as a major new challenge. Another challenge is the safety and safeguarding of the Indian Ocean. If India has to become a major regional power in the world, it has to start from Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean will be our projection of power, and for that we need to have a lot of naval infrastructure. So we'll talk about how much is allocated for that. So that also is there to cover. And then lastly, India needs to be a global power, and for self defense, this budget is good enough. This budget is good to defend our borders, but this budget is not good enough to have power projection, to reflect this strength of India's economy and India's rising stature into the global stage. We are not saying we have become a global power today, but we expect to become a global power 20 years later. For that also we need to start today, because defense equipment, they take notoriously long time in order to get developed. A lot of time goes into research and development, and even a lot of time further goes into their manufacturing as well. So it takes a lot of time, and hence we need to start. We were expecting that this budget could be the one where we will start, but it seems it is not appropriate on those accounts. Now, I will go back to the major changes in the budget or major announcements in the budget. So, for the modernization of the armed forces, Indian Air Force has got 57,000 crore rupees, which is 3.6% higher from previous year. Armed forces, they have got 0.37 lakh crore, 37,000 crore rupees, whereas Navy has got 52,000 crore rupees, 0.52 lakh crore rupees. So these are the allocation for the modernization of the armed forces. Now, this much is there for the modernization, and if we look at this budget, this is not simply good enough to acquire the new fleet of jets, or to have the new warships, or to have the major naval infrastructure that we expect ourselves to develop very soon. Then a significant budget increase has been there regarding the border roads organization, which is a good thing, because as I was talking about, that the Chinese threat on our borders, particularly LAC or the international border, is really unnerving, and for that BRO, Border Road Organization, has been given additional budget of 43%. Last year it got 3,500 crore rupees. This year it has got 5,000 crore rupees. And this last year figure was also a very high figure from previous year. Up to 2020, we were hardly allocating 2,000 crore rupees, less than that. So from there, we have really come up very strongly. Perhaps we need to allocate even more. And then with that, BRO is expected to complete Sela Pass, okay, Sela Pass tunnel, and similarly the Nichipu tunnel, etc. And then DRDO. DRDO has got 9% rise and has been allocated 23,000 crore rupees. and which is 9% higher than the previous year. But with DRDO, the problem has been the lack of deliveries and the lack of spending. Whatever we are allocating to DRDO, it is not able to spend all of that amount. Perhaps it does not have infrastructure, adequate manpower, and adequate capacity to spend all the budget. So that needs to increase significantly. That is also something we need to notice. And another major announcement this year was regarding the non-salary portion of the revenue outlay. Within the revenue expenditure also, there is a non-salary portion, which has been increased to 90,000 crore rupees. Last year, this was about 65,000 crore. This year, this is 90,000 crore rupees, almost 44% higher than the previous year. Where this is going to help us? This amount is going to help us regarding the state of military reserves, regarding the military's capability to deal with the short and the intensive conflicts, and particularly regarding covering the critical gaps in the military reserves. So, this is a very good allocation and this will go a long way, just like the increase in the budget allocation of BRO. That was also good, and this is also a very good increase. So, as we can see, the budget is good when it comes to defending our borders. For that, we have allocated significantly, particularly to counter the Chinese threat. The budget really gives a good thought and covers it pretty well. However, when it comes to the power projection, when it comes to the major defense acquisition or development, the budget is not simply good enough. So, unfortunately, the thing is that Indian government has been very sensitive to all the needs. And in order to deal with any kind of challenge, government has very clearly said that there will always be emergency fund available. If over and above budget something is required, it will never be denied to the armed forces. And the former general or the army chief, he announced, General Mukund Naravane, he announced that almost 21,000 crore rupees worth of emergency purchases have been made as well. So it's not that this budget is fixed and it cannot increase. If there is an emergency requirement, it will be met, but this is not a good way. Emergency purchases is not how you modernize and build a modern, powerful army. For that, there has to be long-term planning. For that, there has to be a proper strategy in place. So emergency purchase is not really a good option for that. So we need to think about that long-term planning and development. And we really need to become very serious about our power projection, particularly at least in the Indian Ocean. So that is really required. And to some extent, this year, a significant allocation to Navy is a good sign. So capital to reserve revenue expenditure ratio is typically 60 to 40. But this year, the ratio is 65 to 35. So that is also a good thing. And overall, this budget looks good on all these aspects. But we also need to remember that next budget will be an interim budget. And in the interim budget, the capital requirements of armed forces are not really fulfilled. That means whatever we have allocated now will actually be spent over next 1.5 years. So if we consider that fact, then simply we are not spending good enough on our modernization of the armed forces. And overall, we need to do more considering our desire to be recognized as a major regional power and in future a major global power. The route for that is not ready yet. But for the safety and security of our borders, this budget is dedicated and this is good enough. Thank you.